My name is Sarah Penning, and I'm originally from Omaha, Nebraska. That's where my family lives. I spent most of my life there. There's a lot of similarities in my story as those of Sister Nigia and Garrett. So I'll just kind of give you the overview and try to keep it brief, and we can get on to the questions and answers. It seems like most of the people here may already be Muslim, so what I would hope that you can get out of this story is the importance for dawah, and how the knowledge that people that you come across, even here at KU, even if your time is temporary, if you are international students, you might be the only Muslim that they've ever met in their entire lives, and you can change their lives just by being yourself. And that's where my story starts. And if anyone is still learning about Islam, I would really love the opportunity to talk to you about it more later, one-on-one situation. That might be better because I'm so nervous. But my story starts, I guess, unfortunately, my family background is kind of what's become average here. And I love my family. I love them a lot, but my parents divorced when I was 18 months old after being baptized Catholic. Both my parents went to Catholic schools. They had a Catholic church wedding, strong Catholic families. But in the Catholic Church, when you get divorced, you're technically excommunicated, which means you're no longer a part of the Catholic Church. And so both of my parents did leave the Catholic religion at that age, 18 months. So I'd been baptized kind of just, it's a blessing for babies, you know, you don't really have a say in that. But I didn't end up learning much about Catholicism growing up. We also were kind of separated from my parents' families, which is probably kind of a big deal because their families are still Catholic. So if we had been closer, maybe I would have gotten more from my grandparents and things, but my mom's from Minnesota, my dad's from Iowa, and we lived in Omaha, Nebraska, so we were kind of isolated. My dad, I think officially became Lutheran, but he's not really Lutheran. I mean, technically he says now that he doesn't believe Jesus is the Son of God, so he can't really be Lutheran. But my mom mostly went to interdenominational churches. Neither of them went a lot growing up. We went maybe 2 or 3 times a year. And we didn't study religion at home or anything like that, so the church just kind of daydreamed. And I went through most of my life like this. I don't know when. It was like, I don't know when I started feeling like there was something missing or that I wanted more. I just kind of saw what was going on in my life, and it didn't make a lot of sense to me. In the end, I became Muslim because when I learned about Islam, I realized that it encompassed all of the beliefs that I already had. If that makes sense, no one changed my mind. I just learned that there was a religion that represented the beliefs in my heart that were there the whole time. And these mainly were, I believe that there was a God. I hadn't encountered any religion that fully encompassed my beliefs about what God was, and I believe there was only one God. There is only one God, and I believe that if you believe in God and if you believe in the day of judgment, when you're going to be held accountable for what you've done, which I believe in all of those things, then that should be a major part of your daily life, and it should be evident in anyone who meets you and all that you do. That should be in the forefront of your head. You should try to stay focused on that the best that you can. And I didn't see anyone that I knew like living this way. And I mean, I think I know some people now that do. They do a great job. And maybe I'm still not one of them. You know, everybody has different levels. But basically, I'm digressing. I get off track. Sorry. So in March of 2009, I met my first person that was a Muslim. Prior to that, okay, so in college I started exploring who is this God? I wanted to have a relationship with God. I really desperately wanted to know God. And so I sought out ways of knowing. And eventually I became agnostic, which believes there is no way of knowing, because I'd gone to so many different kinds of Christian churches. I'd gone to interdenominational, I'd gone to non-denominational. I went to the Hindu temple in Omaha, Nebraska. I learned about Buddhism. I learned about the Baha'i faith. I learned about Mormonism. I mean, even things here that aren't like typical mainstream religions, I learned about them. And I don't know why I didn't learn about Islam. I think because I didn't know anybody that was Muslim. I mean, I heard about Islam. We learned world religions in high school. but it wasn't something that came right to me immediately. But in March 2009, I made my first Muslim friend, and it was a boy from Saudi Arabia, international student in Omaha, Nebraska. So that's why I stayed in for Dawah. He wasn't even living like a really good life. I wasn't living a really good life at that time, and it wasn't a major part of our friendship. So it really didn't come up at all, except when I would bring it up, sometimes I'd ask him questions. And actually, like a month after I met him, as a result of those questions, I quit eating pork, because I started getting sick. Every time I eat it, my dad gets sick now. I think it's funny, because we have these conversations. Anyway, so that's when I started learning about Islam. And we were never even good friends, you know, it's just like that introduction that sparked my interest. So I started learning more, and eventually I had more Muslim friends, and really it got to this point in my life where one of my friends said, okay, well, you know, like, I'm not a good example of Islam or how to be Muslim or anything like that, so, because I would ask more questions, and I started getting my interests higher. So, my friend gave me 2 books, and these books are what led me to take Shahada and embrace the faith of Islam fully. And one was just about the existence of God, and it was offering evidence how there is a God, our Creator, and how there is only one God. And I already agreed with all that, so I was like, okay. And then the next one focused on the 6 articles of faith that I should have touched on earlier on the screen, and just gave a lot of explanation about those in a way that really sparked my interest. And at that time, I prayed for knowledge and understanding. I prayed that God would open my eyes and my ears, my heart, my mind, that I would know the truth. And the more that I learned, the more that I wanted to know. By the end of that book, I was like sure that I was going to be Muslim. But I was like, okay, no, I'm still, don't want to come across something later that I'm going to say maybe not, because this wasn't the word of God, you know, this is just someone else's interpretation and explanation. So I said, okay, I'm going to read the Quran, and then I read that all the way through, and the more that I learned, the more sure that I was. I ended up in February 2010 then, so almost a year later, taking Shahada. And again, we're going to get to the parts of Dawah, but what I want to say about what happened to me when I read those books is truly Allah guides those whom He pleases. And I argue, because in my family, I've got 4 sisters and 1 brother from 4 different dads. My mom's on her 4th husband. So there's varying levels of faith. It kind of depends on our dads, I think, how important that they push something. So my brother happens to be the most religious, I would say, besides myself in our family. And he is Christian. And so we have conversations, and I go to his book because he doesn't really see me as like, as legitimate or something, I don't know. I'm not sure, but I'm working on him. Inshallah, he'll come around like my dad is. He's great, but I'll use even his book, you know, I'll read the Bible verses to him that confirms my beliefs, or I'll tell him things from the Quran, or I'll point out miracles in the Quran, you know, that are there. And I think what I learned is that one thing that did appeal to me in Islam is that I'm a very logical person. Everything it just made sense, and there was explanations for it. Like, it wasn't just like, take this huge leap of faith and this is what you have to do for no reason. Like, everything made sense, and truly God is just and all wise. So even when you can give people a lot of evidence, unless you want to hear it and you have like an open heart and mind to be willing to accept that, there's no amount of fact that's going to win someone over. I mean, you have to turn to God and you have to pray for that kind of wisdom and knowledge, and inshallah, then the truth will come to you. For me, I was as sure as that Garrett sitting at this table next to me, that no one can convince me that what I believe is not true. At that point, now I'm sure no amount of something else could convince me of anything else. So that more than merely facts or declarations, science, even though it's all there, it had to come from within. It had to come from this feeling. When I prayed for understanding and knowledge, it wasn't the first time. I mean, I frequently prayed that God would that I could establish a relationship with God. You know, I prayed to the God that I thought was there when I consider myself agnostic or spiritual but not religious. And it never came to me like it did then when I suddenly felt fulfilled, like the thing that was missing in my life, it was just there, and this burden that I had been walking around with, it was gone. And that's the thing that convinced me the most. And the other thing about Dawa is that when I did take Shahada, because I read that that's all you had to do, you know, say the Declaration of Faith and you're going to be a Muslim at the end of my book, that's what it told me. Then I didn't know where to go from there. And where I went was, I told my family, because I thought that they should be the first ones to know. I'm Muslim now, guys, you know, this is what I believe, and I started talking to them about my faith, and thanks God, my family's always been supportive. Not because they have to agree with me, but because they've seen what it's done for my life, and even my extended family, who they are the least accepting, but they see me and they say, like, you seem happier, you seem healthier, you know, like, they describe me as being a different person. And it's not that I was unhappy before. I wasn't. I thought my life was okay, but it's definitely been improved. And anyway, so when I told my sister, she said, okay, well, I used to work with this girl, and you know, she was Muslim. I know she covered her hair, and she used to go do the prayers at work and everything. So I can give you her email if you like. And I emailed her, and that was in Omaha also. So she met with me at the mall, and we talked for a while, and she took me to the mosque in Omaha for my first time, and from there I joined the Islamic study group, the Halakas there in Omaha. Twice a week they hold them now, and that's what helped me through that transition process. I mean, it's an ongoing transition, but that's what really opened the door for me. Number one, making a friend who just made some knowledge accessible and gave me information to gain more knowledge. Number two, having women that were supportive and helpful that are Muslims and making me feel so included and making it easier for me to take those next steps. I think that's enough for now, and we'll see if there's more.